Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Everything Horror Podcast. And I am your host tonight, Lewandowski, with my lovely fiance,
Tessa Baker.
And, well, we'll just put it this way. You need to pack it tight, roll a joint, and then just wipe that bitch up. And then maybe have something extra sprinkled or sprayed on it. And hopefully you just don't die. Because we're here to talk about the movie High on the Hog. And with us, we got writer Kevin Lockhart. And we got the returning guest from, if you guys remember him, when we were talking about the rake and skeletons in the closet with Tony Wash. We got the editor, Ben Lewandowski. How's it going?
Everybody? Going, man.
Good.
Real good.
Well, welcome for the your first time here, Kevin. It was a pleasure to have you. And just for people listening, and like myself and Tessa here, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind giving us a brief origin story of who you are and how you got into, I guess, writing screenplays.
A brief one? Gee, that's hard for me to do anything briefly. So, this process for me started, and I'll do it as brief as I can. It started over 10 years ago. A bunch of buddies of mine and I were sitting around a fire having a few and having a good time, and they suggested maybe they'd like to make a feature film. I ended up agreeing, writing a script, and putting together a budget for us. As it turns out, that kind of fell apart. 3 years later, we started over again with a much larger budget this time, and it still wasn't enough. So I am now the proud owner, producer, writer, creator of a movie called High on the Hog that has gotten to be a much bigger project than I ever thought it could be. It's basically based on an idea that I had when I was growing up in a small town in central Illinois. It was about a pig farmer. My grandpa was a pig farmer. I spent a lot of time on that farm. And then I knew some other folks in the area who, back in the day, had to supplement their income a little bit by growing marijuana. So I kind of combined the two. No, my grandpa didn't grow marijuana, but I had to combine the two and turned it into this movie about a farmer with a heart of gold who loves his family and grows marijuana to kind of make ends meet and keep the farm. That's as brief as I've ever.
Well, that is very brief, and what's really funny is that within that little brief segment, you actually answered the very first question, so good job. So good job. So Ben, I'm pretty sure we asked you the same thing last time. If not, would you mind giving us a little brief origin story of who you are and how, I guess, you met Kevin?
I met Kevin. It's an interesting story. So I don't know if I told you guys this, but this movie already completed when I came on. I actually met Kevin at DOD, Days of the Dead Schaumburg. Oh shit, I don't even remember. 2013 or 2014 when they were screening the original trailer. And
I've been 14.
Yeah, it was 14. And then one thing led to another. We can probably get into this later, but one thing led to another, and Kevin made the decision to take the movie in a different route. And I was I think I pitched, I'm not mistaken, I drunkenly pitched Kevin my redesign of High on the Hog in his garage in front of a group of people. And I'm not sure.
After we had gone to the screening of another movie, I believe.
Yeah, it was later that night, and there's a bunch of people in the garage, and I'm just sitting there, and there's 20 people watching, and I had a couple of drinks, and I'm just going through the motions of pitching this. And this would have been in late 2014, I believe. And then we started sometime in late 2015. We would have started earlier, but then the rake happened and something else happened. I think there was a couple other movies in between there. So yeah, I first met Kevin at a convention, and he was introduced to me through Tony and Rob, and then one thing led to another. I think we had a more, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we have like a more formal luncheon, you and me and Gurney? Remember, it was like during the winter.
Yeah, we had, what had happened was, Ben and I kind of had chatted a little bit. I think it was after he had given me his little pitch about some ideas. And when I originally wrote it, I wrote this movie it was very dirty. It was very grindhousey. It's more what it is now. And it wasn't like that when we got done with it in 14. And Ben and I talked about it, and what Ben started throwing back at me was what I originally had conceived in my mind. And I tried. I think I might have even sent him the original script, which was probably pretty bad. But and I said to him, I said, "This is what we want to do. This is what I'd like to do. The problem is I'm already knee deep into this financially. Is it really worth it for me to go back and try to redo this?" So him and I met in Gurney, and he went in more detail. Now, you need to understand, one of the things I do professionally, I'm a finance guy. Unfortunately, I had no clue about finances in movies. And what I discovered is, if one of these creative folks tell you what the cost of something's going to be, you need to at least triple the time and double the money, at least. So Ben proposed to me, and it was great, but the process and the costs and stuff still went farther than what I had thought it would do. But I'm very, very happy with the outcome.
Oh yeah, I would hope so that you're happy with the outcome, because I think Tessa and I just couldn't believe, like, in a good way, this is a good way, how fast the movie was flying by, like, as a good boy. And because we're just like, oh my god, like, this must be the first 30 minutes, and we look at it and it's like 50 minutes into it, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, that's actually pretty good if we're enjoying it this much that it's already 50 minutes in and it doesn't even feel like it's 50 minutes. So I give you guys props for that.
That's great to hear, because Ben and I talked about this before. The one thing that we didn't want anyone to say after they got done watching it was, that was boring.
Yeah.
Don't want that.
Well, I couldn't really do Ben's advice, so we watched this sober, Ben, so there was nothing after the 20-minute mark, as you were trying to tell us last time that we were talking to you. So we did not have the hit of acid. We just did it all through sober. But yeah, that's actually a pretty cool story of how you guys met. I mean, it's really nice hearing sometimes how people connect or click, and then, like, they become the bestest of friends, and then more projects come down by the road, just like you and Tony, Ben. Like, you guys done, I don't know how many projects together now, but I mean, I know you've shown up, your name has shown up quite a few times. And Kevin, I'll look into you more, of course, just because I know I'd never heard of your name until High On the Hog, especially when you came through the messenger. So I was just like, oh, okay. So it's kind of funny that you brought up High On the Hog, because that's why I kind of asked about the whole, like, did Tony say something? Like, I was just curious. So
yeah, no, it's because but Ben and I, for the last 3 years now, maybe 3.5, we've been pretty much tied at the hip. I mean, we've been working on this. We've had a couple other projects that we've been working on together, and actually, we can talk about this later too if you'd like. But we actually have a couple other projects that we're already planning for the future that we think we got the funding for, and we're starting to think about who we want on our team. So, it's funny, when this is my first major film project, and I didn't do it small. So, you get somebody like Sid Haig involved, and Joe Estevez, and Bobby Zadar, and not to mention, the great actors that we got, that it was just amazing how it all came together with, Fiona coming in and Jesse Boyd and Sierra and Brenda. I mean, everybody was just, when they came together, everybody just came together. It turned out great. So,
well, that's always a plus. And I mean, I think when you connect together and you find those great people to work with, and it just makes the project that much more faster because you guys are getting along. You guys are starting to recognize certain things of how people do whatever, like do on the project, and whether it's just you, like Kevin, writing or producing, to like Ben editing, to trying to get the right transitions, I guess would be and just editing it to the way everybody else likes it with the communication and stuff. So, I mean, it's always helped for sure. So,
yeah. And like I said, Ben and I really saw eye to eye on this. I mean, it was, once we started talking about what we wanted to do, Ben, you should talk a little bit more about it, but I mean, he just took the ball and ran with it. And, he kept coming back and he'd bounce an idea off me and I'd say, yeah, let's go for it. I think there was very few times that I said no to anything, other than him and I don't always agree on the music. But other than that, I think Ben and I did pretty well. Ben, what's your thoughts?
I think the only point of contention for us would have been some of the Barney Fife stuff.
So what did you guys think of that? I'll ask you an interview question. What did you guys think of the sheriff and his deputy?
The sheriff and the deputy. Oh man! Do you mean Agent Dick and the
No, I think he's talking about the sheriff and the deputy of the town, right?
Yes.
Oh,
not Agent Dick.
Yeah, I was gonna say Agent Dick. That guy deserved death like 5 minutes into the fact that he was a dick. But anyway, for the mayor and the deputy of the town,
sheriff and the deputy,
whatever. The mayor, I didn't know what to think of him at first, and then I noticed that he had this very interesting facial going on, and I'm just like, okay. And then as the movie goes on, I'm like, I really like this mayor. I like this guy's attitude. He's got the right attitude. And as for the deputy
and the sheriff combo, aren't they supposed to all be brothers in the movie?
Yeah, they're supposed to be related.
They're supposed to be related. Yeah, all three of them, right?
Yeah, the town is very close. So yeah.
Yeah, 13 brothers, and I think that one lady.
Was it 13 or was it 17? I think it was 17, wasn't it?
17. I don't know. I don't remember. It was a good number.
I don't.
Anyways, it was up there.
Yeah, it was up there. No, I think it worked really cool. I like the idea of, like, I guess the small town just being one great big family, and where they don't take any bullshit. And just like the mayor, what did he say when he was like eating breakfast or lunch? He just like can't you see like, does this look like an office? Well, this should be your office and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, yeah, that was great. That was great.
Ben and I still love it. Our favorite line that Bobby did in that set as the mayor was, "I don't care if you're Bob Marley, buck naked, lighting up joint right in front of my face," or something like that. And it's funny.
Yeah,
it didn't make much sense, but it was funny.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It's like my office doesn't officially open until Monday,
9 a.m.
Yep.
Oh man, that was great.
I definitely like the mayor's attitude for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Everybody was actually really good in that movie. Like everybody that had like speaking parts and everything were really great.
Oh yeah, they definitely took the role into the next level of becoming the character for sure.
Good. Glad you liked it. So yeah, no. So it was. Trust me when I say this, that it was a real challenge getting it done. And Ben knows this, and the whole process that we went through with this, it was a very long, drawn out process. We had a lot of bumps in the road, but getting it to the finish line, getting a premiere in LA on April 19th, getting it out on video on demand and having it on so many different platforms now. We're going to have it out on Blu-ray within a month. We're just really happy with where we're headed and where we've been, and to see that we got over so many obstacles, or got through, or under, or over, or whatever we had to do at the time. So,
well, that's awesome. I mean, congratulations on that. And since you just mentioned your struggle, that you wouldn't mind elaborating a little bit into what type of struggles and challenges you guys had, that would be great.
How much time?
Yeah, really.
We got plenty.
Yeah. So I started shooting this the first time. We actually cast this for the first time back in 2009 when I was going to do this with my buddies. And some of the people that we cast the first go around, Danny Glenn, Walt Sloan, who was our sheriff and our deputy, were part of the original cast that we had found from the Chicago area when it was going to be a very inexpensive film. Well, then that, with my buddies, it just fell apart. And I thought it was going to die on the vine. And so one of our other people that we had cast reached out. She was in LA at the time, had made some contacts out there, and said, hey, for another $100,000, we could bring this back to life. And I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. I'll try to raise some money, as I've already put some money aside, but let me raise some more money. Little did I know at the time that didn't include post-production. It was just getting the film shot. So I then started working with, Sid and his agent, and Joe and his agent, and who brought in Bobby, and met with a guy out in Western Illinois. His name was Bob Farster. He's the shaker and mover in Elizabeth, who basically let us use his property for 3.5 weeks to shoot the movie. And we started scouting getting all the locations down, getting everything done before we even got to shoot. And I should have known it was something that I should have paid attention to. Our guys were cleaning up around a barn out there 3 days before shooting, and they built a little fire, burned the brush and stuff that was there. Unfortunately, that night a wind kicked up, took that fire, brought it to a flame, and burned the barn down. So immediately I was out another $3,000 or so because I had to rebuild this little barn that was on this person's property. We had some challenges. I had a lot of personal challenges going on at the time. A week before we started shooting, I moved out of my house of my wife of 25 plus years. My aunt passed away, and my mom had a stroke, all within like a 2-week period. So there was a lot going on in my life. There was a lot of stuff happening. So we shot for less than a week, and then our producer and one of our lead actors walked off and was done. We parted ways, and so we had to immediately find replacements, and we brought in a new assistant director that helped a ton. We brought in Anthony Ace Cabral to help out, and then that's when we brought in Katrina to be our new agent, the woman who went undercover as an agent. So Katrina came in and did that for us, and so we got over that hurdle, and we had to, let everyone in the community know that we weren't going anywhere. We're finishing this thing. We're going to make it happen. We had cast and crew and everybody that we had to keep on. We ended up having to extend the shooting for approximately an extra week, just so that we could get everything done and reshot that we needed to shoot from those first few days. So that was the initial challenge. It was just getting it shot. Once we got it shot, then we edited it and went through the process. And like I said, there was a lot going on in my life. It was my fault for not being as involved as what I should have been involved. But when we got done with the first edit, it was more like a crime drama as opposed to a grindhouse movie. And that's nobody's fault but mine. And I take full blame for that. And we submitted it to some film festivals, and we'd submitted it to some distributors, and we had no interest at all. And so I was just ready to swallow my pride and eat it until Ben and I had our conversation. And when Ben and I had our conversation, Ben convinced me that for another $100,000, we could turn this into something else. And you know what? It's the best advice I ever had taken. Like I said, Ben and I have become, not only business partners, but really, in my mind, at least, close friends. And through this process, he's the guy that I will work with time and time and time again, because his judgment has always been right on, or at least maybe I like his judgment so much because it matches mine so closely. but I think that's,
I don't know if it's always sound, but
that's why I said it matches mine. So we went through a lot to get to where we are. Once we got the film, what we thought was done, then we got this deal with the distributor, which was surprising and shocking and wonderful. But none of us had really had the experience of working with an LA distributor before. So the requirements, the 30-page contract with deliverables was overwhelming. And it took more time for us to get that and figure that out and get that done. So when you look back and you go, well, you started redoing it in 2015, 4 years or 3.5 years doesn't seem so bad. Even though we originally shot it back in 2012. So those are just a few of the things. You might be looking for a book in about 10 years. Maybe I'll write a book and tell you the whole story.
There you go. Hey, there's always nothing better than reading the real struggles of a filmmaker that nobody understands nowadays, or, they assume something, and really what they're assuming doesn't even come close to what really happened to create a film, make it, edit it, and even get distribution. So, yeah, that would be a good read. I'm not saying that as a oh yeah, you should definitely do it. I'm saying that would be great, because then you could it would probably be in a way a therapeutic way of just letting all that extra stress or anger or sadness or whatever
that energy go.
Yeah, just let it go. And then once it's finally out there, then people will probably understand what it's really like to, actually create something. Because, I always try to tell everybody, and especially in comments, when they say, well, this film should have been this sucks balls. Just well, and how about you stop reading, and how about swallow your word by going out and making your own goddamn movie. Then come back and say that this movie sucks.
Yep.
So, yeah. That's what I say.
It always is easy to criticize. And being in business for as long as I've been in, it's always easy to criticize what isn't right about something. And that's why I say, if this movie isn't for everybody, and if you don't like it, it's my fault. Blame it all on me. I am perfectly fine with that. I got big shoulders. I made decisions that some people wouldn't have made, and they wouldn't have liked it. But you know what? If you love it, if you think it's great, then think about all of the wonderful people that worked on this thing. Everybody, from, Rob Stern, my cinematographer, who's an incredible cinematographer, to Tony, to Ben and his edit skills, which they're incomparable to anything I've ever seen before. You know, to everybody else who's been on this. I mean, you know, our guy Jim Peterson, who has to listen to Ben and I all the time complain and push about getting the technology stuff done for us. I mean, and he was a big part in getting the deliverables done to the distributor. You know, to our set designers like Sarah Engel and other, you know, there's so many people. I mean, there are people, like I said, I will definitely be working with again that I worked with on this project. And it is as challenging and as difficult and as expensive as it's been. What I will tell you is the friendships, the people that I've met, the relationships that I've developed are worth every single bit of it. And I wouldn't change it for anything. I would do it better next time, but I wouldn't change it for a thing. Wouldn't change a thing.
I wish you admit the fact that you made a few mistakes. It's probably not everything. It's just a few, but that's the miracle of really creating anything. I mean, Tessa and I, like, when we started doing this podcast like 3 years ago almost, we started off with just really using our cell phones and just recorded on there. And then we used Skype and Audacity, and at the time Skype wasn't able to record conversations like it can now. And, our quality wasn't the greatest, but we still tried to have fun and do our best while learning at the same time.
Yeah, we made it work despite the obstacles and stuff we had to overcome with technology and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's what makes you better. I mean, when you figure out how you overcome those challenges, or and mostly how do you react to those challenges? You know, when somebody that you are working with or counting on to do something doesn't do it, what do? Well, you either find somebody, you either whine and cry in your dinner or whatever the heck however you say that, but you whine and cry about it, or you do something about it. And throughout this process for the last almost 10 years, the idea is, and again, that's where Ben comes into play a lot for the last 4 or 5 years at least, every time that we had a challenge, it was like, geez, man, what the hell are we going to do now? And it's like, well, here's what we can do. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Let's do this. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, do you have that ability to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and go forward? Or do you say, shit, that's it. I'm done. I can't do anymore. And that's the difference between someone who can go out and make a movie and finish it, or start a podcast and develop it and develop a following and do the things that you need to do. The stick-to-itiveness, I guess.
Exactly. And speaking of Ben, since he is kind of quiet, and you have mentioned his name quite a few times now, so Ben, please share in some of your stories of what did you suggest to Kevin? Because as you were just mentioning, he would come for you for advice. So do you recollect anything specific?
We can use foul language, right? We can be graphic.
Yeah, no filter.
No filter at all.
Go for it.
All right, I got a funny story for you. So there's a scene in the movie where Jimmy, played by Adam Boudron, is naked. He's upstairs, and then he goes downstairs, and he walks right between Katrina and Fiona before they have their scene. And I'm sure you guys noticed that his bare ass is hanging out in the breeze, right? Well, they put a sock on his front, and I went to Tony, and I'm like, why did you guys cover him up? I forget what Tony said. He's like, you can't have a dick in the movie. And I said, why not? He goes, you just can't. I'm like, well, if there's tits, why can't we have a cock? So then I scoured the footage. I'm sorry if this is dirty, but this is how I talk. So I scoured the footage, and I'm like, son of a bitch, there is no dick. So then I go to Kevin, and I go, Kevin, there's not a dick in the movie. He's like, yeah. I was like, this is what I want to do. And Kevin asked the same thing, but Kevin was a little bit more liberal about it. He's like, well, what do you recommend? What's the problem? I'm like, well, we've got all these tits and all this other shit. Let's make it fair for the ladies or for, gay men. And, the movie should be for everybody, so let's just put some shit in there. So he's like, well, I don't think we ever shot that. I'm like, all right. So I got an idea. I want to put it in there, but since we don't have the footage, can I replace it with a vegetable? And Kevin goes, what are you fucking talking about? I'm like, just give me a few minutes and I'll send it back to you. And Kevin, I don't remember what your response was, but I remember that you laughed your ass off.
So I busted out laughing. That's what I did. Like, yeah,
and then
what we should do.
The vegetable dick is actually what led to the banana that's earlier in the film. For the same reason. We didn't have footage of the act. So I'm like, you know what? We debated actually shooting pickups with another actress, but we determined that could have been problematic. So we're like, fuck it, man. This movie's already insane. Well, let's get a banana in there. And then sure enough, I found some stuff with a girl and a banana, and it worked out perfectly. But the movie is littered with all types of stories like that, and that's basically how we put that together. We basically, I'd like to say desperation is the mother of invention, because that's kind of what it was. We didn't have a practical option, so we just kind of pulled one out of our ass, and that's one of those. I mean, we got tons of those, but that's one of the funnier ones.
Oh man, when you brought up that banana thing, all I could remember.
That was well calculated. I'll tell you right now, that was not random. That was actually well thought out, even though it seems like the impulsive action of a bunch of fucking crazy people.
That was probably the most random, funny scene, probably like near the beginning. Because as soon as that happened, I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Isn't it obvious?
It is obvious, but it's just like, what?
Yeah, it's at that moment where the movie. Honestly, the moment you've crossed the Rubicon is the beginning when Brian Barber is telling the cat lady story, and the screaming pile of cats zips across the screen. That's honestly the first moment where you're definitely not in Kansas anymore. But once you get to the banana, you know that the gloves are fucking off.
Oh yeah, the gloves are off.
It's so funny how things all just come together when we're doing that. So from when we shot in those scenes in 16 with the woman that we had brought in, Sierra Green, who did the motorcycle stuff for us. Then I had bought online these 1970s Easy Rider magazines that I had to go to Easy Rider then and say, which ones can we use? And there was only three that we could use out of the 2 years worth of Easy Rider magazines that I had bought. So we used those three, and Ben just found his way. He put all three of them in there, and they last for a second, a flash, but it's just funny how it all pieces together. But you're right. That's when you realize you're crossing over the edge.
Yeah.
The freak out is really strange. And Chris, I was telling a little bit the story about Chris Younts and how Chris is just such a talented artist that Ben and I have decided that we want to work with him some more. So we already have one project with him, and we're going to work another one. He's going to be probably involved in our next project as well. So.
Oh yeah, that stop motion clay animation was definitely another wild ride. It was just like, what the hell is going on with that too? With the different face meltings and oh man, I don't even remember all of it. I just remember there's like a lot of weird shit going on with that too, and I'm just like, wow, this is like I think this is what Ben was trying to forewarn us about having a hit of acid, because this is trippy right here with this.
Yeah, I was scared when we first previewed the movie in LA. I was pretty sure that somebody was going to faint, but fortunately nobody did.
Well, that's good.
Not yet, anyway. That's a werewolf.
Now, I have to ask, The pig bong.
Yes.
That was pretty interesting. How did you guys come about that? Did you guys like have somebody make that, or?
Well, I had actually found the pig online, and our creative set designer, Sarah Engel, who I'd mentioned earlier, helped us figure out how we turned that into a bong. It's really not a functioning bong, but trust me, it holds a place of honor in my collection of stuff, because it does. Like,
we've tried to make it functioning.
Yeah, we worked our damnedest. Yeah, it is. It's quite the little character that survived for the last 7 or 8 years. So,
man, that pig bong is definitely way too happy as a pig, especially when you I guess in this case, since it's a bong, sucking its whip, I guess.
Nose, I think.
Nose, whatever.
Was it the nose?
Nose. It was right through the nose.
It was the nose, yeah.
Oh, nice pig snot. Mm. He was
going. You could actually get it to burn through. It was just hard to get the smoke all the way through. I mean, you could get the smoke into the pig. It was just harder to get it out.
Of course.
And of course, it was just tobacco.
Wow.
So, what was it like working with Sid, Big Daddy?
Well, I have to tell you something. This is going to sound bad, especially on this podcast, but I wasn't ever a big horror fan of recent horror type movies. I was a kid that grew up in watching, the midnight creature features back in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. That's how old I am. And so I knew the Vincent Prices of the world and the all of the crazy guys who made movies, the old horror type movies. So when I said Sid Haig, I'm like, oh, okay, let me find out who this guy is before I start talking to his agent. And found out who he was, and it's like, holy crap, I mean, this stuff. And I watched his movies, I watched the zombie movies, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this guy, because when I was younger, I watched Mary Hartman, which is something you guys probably don't even know exists, but it was a sitcom back in the 70s that was on the cutting edge of everything. I mean, it was like the first TV show that talked about a woman having her period and, premarital sex and, different things that just wasn't discussed back then. And Sid was on that show. Sid did like 50 episodes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that guy from that show. Well, I met him at the airport. We stopped on the way to Galena, and we stopped at a restaurant, and he ordered fried pickles. And I'm like, I like this guy. So from that time on, Sid and I got along well. I wanted to make sure he was happy. When we had our problems on set and we had a few challenges, Sid stepped up. I mean, Sid became a producer on the movie, and Sid became a father figure, is what he'd necessarily like to be described as, but he did kind of become a father figure to some of the folks on set, and he'd been on so many sets, TV and movie and everything, that he had so many good ideas and so many pointers that he was just the man. Part of the deal too with when he stepped up to do all this was, I'd asked him what he wanted, and we renegotiated some of his contract, but we talked about it, and we put him in as Sid Haig in High on the Hog. He had never had his name as that title over the title of the movie before. And so that was something that was special to him and is still very special to me that we were able to do for him. Since that time, Sid and I become friends. I think of Sid now more as a friend than I think as someone who worked on this movie with me or for me or whatever. You'd never meet a more kind man. You'd never meet a more caring person, someone who loves his fans and his fans love him, that he takes the time that it takes to meet every one of them. And he just got such a soft heart for, people that have, interest in him and the things that I've seen him do for people. I don't want to share, those are some private things, but he's just that guy. He's the guy that if you think Sid's a nice guy, or he seems like a nice guy when you meet him at these conventions, you're just seeing the surface, because he really is that guy.
That's awesome. It's always great. Like I probably said earlier, to meet people like Sid and Ben and stuff, just because of the way you guys connect and become friends. We just had an interview with the guy that we first ever talked with on this podcast, with like his brother and his producer for a movie that they did. And he was even saying, like, after he'd known us for 2 years now, it would be 2 years, and he considers us as like one of his best friends, or like that he ever met, just because we were the first ever podcast to ask him to be on one, I should say. So,
and we've always been supportive of him and his work and everything, and we do our best to help him to get his projects and stuff out there, and spread the word and stuff like that. So he's very appreciative of us because of everything that we've done for him without needing anything to do it. We just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just the kind of people that we are.
Yep.
Well, and you know what? That's the key right there. I mean, if you're a good person, it just seems like, some good things are going to happen, and you develop those friendships, and, people know it. I mean, people just know it, and probably the nicest compliment I ever got was, this is going to sound like name dropping, but I'm going to do it anyway. So last year, we had the con that was in Schaumburg, and did Sid not make it last year, Ben? Is that what it was?
To which one?
So the Schaumburg.
No, he wasn't there.
Yeah. So Sid that was the first one that Sid had missed, and since I'd known him, and so. I wasn't really planning on going to it, and I didn't want to go and hang out. But a guy that I had met the year before called me up, and he goes, "Hey, let's go to dinner. I got somebody else that wants to meet you." He had heard, and through this guy, and apparently through Sid, that I was a good guy to work with. Someone that you could talk to and trust. And it was like flattering to me. The guy was Coolio. And we went out for dinner, and I'm just like, huh. So somebody mentioned my name to Coolio at some point, and he wanted to have dinner and pitch a movie idea to me. And I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool to have somebody that thinks enough of you to do something like that. So, that's the key. I mean, and that's just, I'm with you guys. That's the kind of person I am. I mean, my word is what I am, and I am who I am, and some people like it and some people don't, but I just try to be honest and caring to everybody that I meet.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, like, I recently became friends with this guy in the UK. He does like horror comics, and when he was doing his latest Kickstarter, I was watching the other two. I'll just say companies for right now, because I really don't know what they really are. Maybe news, entertainment things. I'm not really quite sure. I've never even heard of them before. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is, like, he didn't ask me to do this, but because he was telling me, he came to us, and he was just like, hey, if you guys make a quote, I'm going to put it on the website and stuff like that. And then he showed me an image that he put our podcast name on the banner of the Kickstarter. Without, like, he didn't even tell us, and until it went live. And because of that, I actually helped every single day. I didn't care if my friends or whoever got sick of me doing it, but every single day I would make a Instagram story saying like, this is what we're at today. This is how many days left, and this is why you should pledge now and stuff. And then, at the very end of the campaign, he was just like, dude, I appreciate you guys so much for what you guys have done for me just to help with even the Kickstarter alone. And I flat out told him, I said, hey, I think it's because we're honored that you are putting our podcast name on your latest issue and you put it on your Kickstarter banner. I kind of felt like I needed to, because that's like a really big step to us. We've never really had the honor of anybody putting our podcast name on anything. So it was just like, wow, like he didn't even have to do that, but he wanted to. So
that's awesome. No, that's good.
Yeah. So I mean, and now he wants to have us be the first people
trying to develop a project to get that kind of support from anybody, let alone somebody that you like. To promote you on a daily basis and to do that's amazing. That is just amazing.
That's us. Yeah, that's me and Tessa. So that's me and Tessa for you. We just do it. If you even just do something like that, I think what it was is because, like I said, because of the fact that he put our name on it, I just wanted to do that. So this other Kickstarter thing wanted to interview us per se, and they didn't share, this is what I kind of don't like too, but if I have to, I'll just edit this damn thing out, but just to make a point here, but one thing that I guess you could say irritates me is if me and Tessa are like what we're doing with you and Ben here today, talking, giving our time, you're giving your time to us, and not even one share of the interview on any of their social media or whatever, and then or their Kickstarter, that kind of makes me go, oh, okay, well, I guess you don't need my help after all.
Right.
So,
no.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you guys right now, we'll on Facebook, we'll share the interview once it's up. We'll make sure the social media gets it up, and then we'll do that. We always try to do that and support. We support everybody who tries to support us. And in fact, we can even talk about it. I have not talked to my website guy lately, but we'd like to link more with some of these folks that have been helping us out. So if you have an interest in being on our website,
of course,
or website, we'll link you in and do that as well. So
yeah, of course. I mean, whatever helped you guys and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, you don't have to do it for us, but I mean, just that extra brownie point, I'll say. So
absolutely.
And so I completely will right now just thank you for that. I mean, we and Tessa will appreciate that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll help you guys out for any future project too. Because I like Ben. Ben seems cool. I just don't know if he hit the acid every 20 minutes after a movie, but that's okay.
That's fine.
He's awful quiet today. A little bit worried about him. So
well, that's okay. Now it's time to pick on Ben anyway. So Ben, I know last time when we were talking to you, it was about the rake and skeletons. Now, I know you just mentioned it too, that when you kind of first came onto the project for High on the Hog, everything was basically done except for when you guys came back to talk about new plans. Now, did you do any type of editing for this movie? And if so, was it a lot more easier than your last few projects?
You mean for Hog?
Yes.
Ben did this whole edit. Ben did everything.
The whole movie's. I cut the whole movie. Oh, you're confused because of he's confused because of the previous version, probably, which makes sense.
Oh, that's my fault for saying it the way I did. The original version that we shot was this crime drama sort of thing. Ben turned it into what it is. Took what the footage we had and what we shot in 2016 with Ellie Church and some additional nudity, like the opening scene in the strip club sort of thing. That was all shot in 16. Ben, and that was all part of Ben being able to tell a story better. That and the car in the beginning, that great car in the beginning. That was all stuff that Ben and I had talked about and put into that to help enhance the movie, and then he added all that other crazy stuff in there. I'm sorry, Ben. Now you tell him everything that you had to do.
Oh, God. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, what you're seeing right now, I would say that in terms of the redesign, I think I recut everything from the ground up, but I think that, I would say that I'd say 30% of the movie is either new material or like I'll give you a great example. The drug scene that we were talking about earlier.
Right. That
sequence in the original version of the film lasts approximately, 15 seconds. She takes a hit. She gets kind of wobbly and then runs out of the room. And one of the first things I said to Tony, and I know I said it to Kevin, was I think when I first watched the final cut of the 2014 version, I remember my notes specifically stating, this drug sequence doesn't feel like a drug sequence. I always tell people, if you're going to make a drug movie, you got to make it with drug people. And when they made that movie, I don't think that they really understood what a true freak out from drugs looks like. Unfortunately, I do. I've seen it many times. And that was one of the first things we keyed in on. And like I said, there's sequences like that throughout the movie, but that was a major one. Yeah, the whole intro, the whole opening is completely different. But yeah, I would love it. I'd love to show people sometime the original version because, like I said, it is complete. Every single scene is completely different. But I had the benefit of seeing the movie in its complete form, and when you can do that, I cannot tell you what an advantage that is. The previous editor, really good editor named Michael Heffler, is the one who cut that, and he basically cut what I think the filmmakers wanted initially. Because remember, I wasn't on set for this at all, but like Kevin said earlier, it was a very meat and potatoes police procedural. It's not the batshit crazy movie that you're seeing now. They're completely different animals. But I would definitely say that it was not an easy movie to cut because we had a lot of issues. The biggest challenge I think for me wasn't the editing gimmicks, and it wasn't the editing rhythms of the movie. That comes to you after a while. I think the biggest challenge was Joe, believe it or not. That was my biggest issue in that movie because when I first saw the 2014 cut of this, I absolutely hated Joe Estevez's performance. And what's funny about that is I'm a huge Joe Estevez fan. Huge. And most people don't even know who he is. They don't even know that Martin Sheen has a brother. But that was definitely one of the biggest challenges is finding a balance between kind of a jovial asshole and a true sociopath. It's really, really hard to cut that because, like I said, in the first version. Kevin, did you like Joe in the first version?
One of the things that I told Joe was that I thought the way he was portrayed in the first version, he was not. You could tell he wasn't a good guy. But everybody that I talk to now in this version says, now I know why he's called Agent Dick. I mean, that's the difference. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That guy.
That right. Let me tell you guys something too. That right there, that cutting a better performance than a Joe Estevez. That shows you that's paramount in illustrating how much power and control. I shouldn't say power and control. It really shows you the skill set of a good editor because I was able to take a really, really unlikable character and a really unlikable performance and get it somewhere. You got this brooding asshole, but he's actually still kind of jovial at the same time. There's a couple of moments where Joe is almost likable. There's a couple of moments with Katrina. They're very subtle, but they're there.
Might have to watch it one more time before the rental thing is up. So yeah. Likeable, huh? I'm trying to think. Do you remember a part with Agent Dick when he was almost likeable, or did you always hated him, babe? Do you remember?
I wasn't a fan of Agent Dick.
Do you not remember?
I wasn't a fan of him at all. No, I can't recollect the part where I found him even remotely likable or approachable.
Yeah,
so I was like, God, this guy's a dick.
Well, that's what we want. And he is the villain.
You know, gets his in the end. I'm not going to say how, but when he does get his, I was like, yes.
I think everybody cheers.
Oh yeah, probably. Yay! No, yeah, his time definitely came at the right time, especially since he was, I'll just say trigger happy is all I'll say. So yeah, jeez, talk about not even doing the law enforcement right either. So, oh man, trigger happy.
Oh no, he didn't give a. Yeah, his character doesn't give a fuck about the law. He doesn't.
No.
Workers are the beat of his own drummer. There's no doubt.
That was like the without giving too much away. I'll just say where he's outside with everybody else, and he goes, "Give me your gun," and then bang. What did you do that for? They were shooting at us. What? You were just shooting them, you fucking idiot. Oh man.
And then Les goes, "You're fired," and he goes, "Again."
Yeah, again.
Yeah,
again. See that's what I'm talking about. There's some really good comedic beats out of Joe. I mean, Joe's a really, really decent actor, and unfortunately, he hasn't had a lot of opportunities to show that. I don't want to say that Hog's his best movie, but it's certainly one of his best performances, without question.
Awesome.
Hell, it might be his best movie. I don't know. I mean, he is in Apocalypse Now, so I'm not going to say Hog is better than Apocalypse Now. But since you don't actually see Joe in Apocalypse Now, you do hear him.
Now,
Kevin, did you know that he did some of the voiceover? He does some of Martin Sheen's voiceover work.
Yes, I did know that.
Joe and I had a lot of time to talk. Joe's another guy that I have to tell you, he is such a sweetheart of a guy. He really is a good guy. So, and I got to know him fairly well. So,
very cool. Very cool. Now, Ben, I want to say this question might be for you, but if it's not, then Kevin, I guess Kevin can take over the question. But so how did you come up with the idea of this like weird suicidal weed concept?
The what? Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
The suicidal weed concept.
Oh yeah. With Jimmy, he's talking about the Jimmy subplot.
With who? No, I didn't say no name. Hey.
No. Oh yeah, did I just? Yeah, no. I just blew a spoiler.
When I first wrote it, it was just because I wanted it to initially come off as the cops were doing whatever they had to do to make weed look bad, and it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear, and the Jimmy character, the Joe character, the Katrina character, you know, all of those people that are involved in everything is, you know, even Sid, everybody who's involved in the weed process here, it wasn't clear as to what was actually happening, and we had to make it clearer. And I think that that's one of those things that in the original shooting that we did, but it wasn't very clear, and that was one of the feedback that we got. So we had to actually redo and reshoot a lot of stuff. So the hints that you get throughout the movie, the things that kind of start guiding you down the path of what's really happening, it's more obvious now compared to what it was, but it's apparently not real obvious if you're either really stoned, really drunk, or are busy playing on your cell phone while the movie's going on, because there's people who not. So.
The good news about Hog is it definitely requires, regardless if you're sober or not, and I'm going to assume most people are not, it definitely requires you to pay attention, and it definitely requires a second viewing, because for a stoner movie, there is a lot going on. And what Kevin just talked about, a lot of that information is related to the opening scene. And opening scenes, people have a tendency to just kind of, they don't particularly pay attention to them because they open the movie. The audiences usually don't assume you're going to get a lot of information, but that opening scene really lays out the groundwork for everything we did. Did you guys notice Kevin's picture there on the newspaper in the opening scene? It's Kevin.
No, I think I did.
Kevin's the guy running for re-election. Now that's a funny story too. I remember when Kevin and I were talking about that, and he's like, "What?" So yeah, we're going to put your picture on the paper. You're going to be the senator. And Kevin's like, "Oh, I get it now." And that's how that whole subplot came to be. It was just idea after idea after idea that just we pulled out of our ass, literally, and they did end up making sense. But you really got to pay attention.
Yeah,
which I know is not a popular. That's not a popular comment to make on a stoner movie. But once again, it is a stoner movie, but it's also not. It's a very, very complex.
Yeah, I guess I didn't catch that the first time around. But then again,
you got to go back. There's a lot of stuff in there. We didn't even get to the good stuff that's hidden in there, but maybe we won't say that for this podcast. Maybe we'll wait on that, Kevin.
No, they'll have to interview us again, and we'll tell them 3 months from now. We'll tell them some more funny stories. So.
Oh yeah. If you guys didn't catch that, there's a lot of stuff you didn't catch. But also, here's another tidbit. I'm also in the movie for 6 frames. If you can find me, then you're definitely paying attention. I'm dead in a bathtub. Not sure if you guys caught that the first time. Probably not, because it goes by quick.
I guess not.
Exactly. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, I hate to tell you guys this, but that's exactly what Hog is. I mean, we could sit here and talk for longer than the movie is and never cover all the little hidden gems in there. So
gems, yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, back when Ben and Tony were first coming on for like the Rake and Skeleton, me and Tessa watched Skeleton like 3 times in a row before the interview. But with things that were going on, I figured that it would be safer to just play it almost like the night before, so that way it would still be fresh in our head, and then probably watch it one more time too. So yeah, I mean, but it's always like with any type of new movie anyway. You watch it once to try to get the idea, then you got to go back again for the stuff that you possibly missed. So in this case, when we go back again, we're going to be looking for possible gems that we missed the first time around, like the newspaper, the dead body in the bathroom now, I guess, and then maybe try to figure out anything else that we can figure out. So
that's probably a whole separate podcast.
Probably. But since you guys were talking about like reshooting film, now was there any type of specific scenes that had to be taken out?
Taken out?
Yeah, taken out.
I think the only thing that we truncated a couple of scenes. I think the only thing, and you'll get to see this in the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. There is the only thing that's really missing. There's a montage where Katrina Hill, who plays Lucy, is working on the farm. Outside of that, though, narratively speaking, there's not a lot that we eliminated from the original shoot of the film. Amazingly.
Well, that's good. And then my last question for you, Ben, too, is did this film at least become the film that you wanted and not like The Rake?
Well, yes and no. I wasn't involved in the original production of this. I will definitely tell you, had I been the director of this movie, it certainly would have been different, because Kevin and I, Kevin and I philosophically had the same idea in mind, I would have, my original idea when I approached Kevin was let's do what you wanted to do, which was make a grindhouse movie. But I would say that for the most part, yeah, I had a lot of crazy ideas, and Kevin was very accommodating to all of my batshit craziness. Hog in some ways is a dream because as an editor, I pretty much got to do, the amount of leeway I have in this movie is astounding. You usually don't get that, and I think that Hog is a testament to a writer and a producer like Kevin really, really trusting who's minding his store. And that's why I think the movie definitely works for that reason. So no, I'm very happy with it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think I definitely had fun with it. Sorry, Kevin.
No, I was just going to say, and I think that you'll see it even more so when Ben and I do our next project, because then he'll have the ability to be involved from the very start, and to me that's big, because I do want his
want.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And again, if we're working together, and again, any issues that happened with Hog early on were my fault. I mean, I wasn't there as much as I should.
Stop it.
Well, because of all the issues that I had going on in my life at that time. So yeah,
it's not your fault. You didn't ask for the issue to just drop into your lap. So I mean, it's not your fault.
But it's still. I mean,
no, it is not.
I will be there next time, so it's going to be different.
Good. But I mean, it's always good, like I said, and I can't wait for your next project. But we got actually one more question that we can think of for High on the Hog anyway.
So, how did you guys come up with the title for the film?
This was all on me. So when I wrote this, like I said, I was in kind of a weird place, but I every night I was kind of sitting in my family room listening to music and writing. I had never written a script before, so I was just freelancing everything. Everything came to mind, I was putting it down. I was writing. And I listened to get myself in the right frame of mind, I listened to a lot of Southern rock music. And one of my favorite bands from the 70s is a band called Black Oak, Arkansas. Believe it or not, Black Oak, Arkansas actually had a album called High on the Hog.
And the Hog, yeah.
And since I was writing a movie about a pig farmer and there was marijuana, I mean, it was kind of just came together. So that's really how it came about.
Or grew into place. Waka waka.
Waka waka.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's really cool when when you listen to something and it inspired you want to use like that specific title or something, or just like you said, it's the farm and marijuana and stuff, and then there you go. There's the title right there. It's just like perfect. Yep. But yeah, that's always awesome. And in a way, it's almost like, that inspired you to want to use the title. So it's always good for that. I mean, I don't really know what else to say to that, because I have a lot of titles where I'll listen to like a song or a movie or something, and I'll get inspired to use the name or somehow use the name in a different way, and but it's still inspired by it. So I mean, that's always cool to. And I'll never understand how people that say they cannot listen to music, they do not like music. It's like, what? Are you even human? So I don't know.
Yeah, music is a big thing to me. I can't.
Me too.
Music is everything. So
yeah, me too. If there were no music, people would be getting murdered right now, probably by me. But I'm not trying to say I'm a serial killer or nothing. But no. Moving on.
So once again, when can we expect the Blu-ray, and what's to come in the future?
The Blu-ray should be out no later than the end of June. For the future, I think you can expect to hear something about that before the end of the year. Ben and I are going to start. Ben and I have already talked about who we would like to have involved in the next project, how we would like to approach it. We believe we have the financing available, and we're looking to do another featured grindhouse type movie, I believe. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, is there any type of social media platforms or website to kind of help those and like Tessa and I to keep up to date with you guys as well for upcoming?
Yeah, our website's highonthehogmovie.com, and we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram. And between those three things, it seems like Facebook has gotten the biggest traction. Between those three, though, that's where you can find out about everything that's going on.
Very cool. Well, I'll try to do my best to link the social medias and the website into the description below. And for anybody listening, if I did not do that, please yell at me. So then it would be my fault for not putting in the damn links in the episode like I normally do. So, but once again, guys, thank you so much for joining. I mean, it was a pleasure, Kevin, to talk to you. And Ben, it's nice to talk with you again. And at least this time, Ben, I wish we didn't get to hear, like, can we just stop talking about this and move on? So that was great. Yeah, so that was great. But, yeah, thank you so much again, you guys. And, High on the Hog is definitely a big recommendation from Tessa and I believe. I think we had a lot of fun watching it, and sober or drunk, high, or both, or whatever, I think you guys would still have a hell of a good time with it. It's nice and very weird and just awesome at the same time. So it would definitely, if you're sober, you're still going to get the high from the sharing of the weirdness that's going on in the movie itself. So, good job for that.
Thanks. We appreciate your help and your support, guys.
Hey, thank you so much for reaching out. So, we are honored to help you guys as much as we can. And thank you, listeners, once again for listening, because you know what? You just need to do one thing. If you're going to pack it, you better pack it tight, because otherwise, Big Daddy is not going to be goddamn happy with you. I don't know why, but he's always said the line, pack it tight. So, pack it tight, and remember, everybody, to stay scary.